Excellent. All right, well, welcome to tonight's Socratic Club debate. This is our second of the fall term. The Socratic Club at OSU organizes religious debates between scholars for the benefit of OSU and the surrounding community. The club was founded in 1941 at Oxford, with C.S. Lewis serving as the first president. The mission of the Socratic Club is to provide an open forum for the discussion of intellectual difficulties connected with religion and with Christianity in particular. Also, this year is the Socratic Club's 10th anniversary here at OSU. Let's see. More information on the club and essays by C.S. Lewis are available out in the lobby. And also you'll see a screen will come down after our presentation. You saw the screen just for a moment there. It'll come down afterward with some extra information. I think our website, our Facebook page, things like that, our upcoming debates. So you can get all that information there or back at the table. And our website also has a link to our new YouTube channel. We've posted a lot of the debate videos that are taken for the past 10 years. And we also just posted our debate video for the last debate, if any of you saw it. So for those of you who missed it, you can certainly come to the website and see those on YouTube. Let's see. So, for tonight's debate, our goal, as usual, is to answer a question. That question is there an absolute basis for morality? Our two distinguished speakers will each address this question in a debate-style format. The structure of the debate is as follows. Here's all the timing. Each speaker will be given 20 minutes to speak in defense of his chosen position. Next, there will be 20 minutes of discussion, during which the speakers may ask questions of one another. And the next questions will be taken from all you, the audience, for about 45 minutes. Those 45 minutes tend to pass quickly, so make sure you start writing down questions now, form them carefully, and have them ready if you're going to come line up and ask them for those 45 minutes. We will close a little before 9 o'clock tonight with a 2-minute closing statement from each speaker. Hopefully get you out of here by 9. So our first speaker will be Father Lucas Laborde. He was born in Argentina, where he earned his master's degree in philosophy at the Universidad del Norte Santo Tomás de Aquino, I hope, in 2000. Hopefully that's okay. He also studied theology at San Carlos Borromeo Seminary and was ordained to the priesthood in 2005. For 5 years, Father Laborde served as campus minister for the OSU Newman Center here in Corvallis, and is currently the director of the Portland State University Newman Center, and the pastor of St. Patrick Church in Portland. He is also a member of the St. John Society, which is dedicated to working with students, professionals, and the poor. Please join me in welcoming Father Lucas Laborde.
Thank you so much to all the Socratic Club members and Dr. Ferngren for inviting me and for Jan Barker for being here. I think it's so important to debate these key questions that we have. And I think I have my entourage coming here as well. How do we determine what is right and wrong? I'm going to argue saying that there is an absolute basis for morality. Saying there's no basis for morality leads to moral relativism, which is something I think is untenable for two main reasons. It would lead to absurd consequences. If morality were relative to individual preferences, that would mean that there's no universal standard to claim, well, this is right and wrong. There's no reason why Mother Teresa would be better than Hitler. And if morality is only based on individual opinions, then morality could change from one generation to the next, from one decade to the next, and so on. And the other key argument for that, I think, is nobody is a consequent relativist. Nobody is consequential in this. In the moment you argue about some moral position, you assume that your position is more in accordance with an objective standard than the opposite one. Otherwise, what I am saying and arguing is, I want my personal preference to be binding on you and everyone else. It's just a preference. But no, when we argue and say this is right, what we mean to say is this is right for everyone. So I think that moral relativism is not something that we can really sustain as practicable and as binding or holding a society together. It's socially destructive. I think we all agree that there is moral truths, moral standards that are universal, that are good for everyone, in every circumstance, in every time in history. But what I will argue tonight is to say that that moral, objective moral order needs some absolute foundation, and without it, it's very hard to avoid relativism. I'm going to structure my speech in three main sections. First, I'm going to talk about the natural law. In the second place, about revealed moral law. And finally, about the insufficiency of other foundations for morality outside of a creator God and an objective moral order. What I will argue for is that this absolute standard for morality ultimately comes from God and is embedded in our world. To the first section, natural law. Let me explain what I mean by natural law, because this could be easily misunderstood. It's not simply biological rules. It's not just nature as the non-human world in front of us. It means that everything in this universe has an intelligent and organized complexity, properties and rules that guide the behavior of things. In non-living things, or in living organisms, in plants, in animals, natural law leads to a pattern of behavior that is always consistent, is always the same. We can equate natural law in that case with tendencies, with instinct. But in human beings who have a mind and freedom, this complex and intelligent order encompasses both the biological and also the spiritual, the world of psyche, of freedom, of human relationship. This order is intrinsic, comes from within, and it's weaved in the fabric of our very being, so that when we relate to others in love and form families, and we are truthful and honest with each other, we live in a society, we trust in authority, we're basically following spiritual human tendencies. We're following a law that is inscribed in us, and we follow that law freely, not compelled to do it. How do we determine what is right and wrong? The philosophical answer is a behavior that is in agreement with that spiritual and physical structure of our being. It's morally right, and it leads to fulfillment. A behavior that is in disagreement with that intrinsic structure and order is morally evil and results in self-harm and the harm of society and others around us. The analogy I use sometimes is that of something an engineer can create. Suppose an engineer creates a car, and that person determines, well, it's going to use this kind of engine oil and this kind of fuel, and this is the way you should run it. But then I go in and buy the car, and I say, it's my Buick, or it's my Chevy, and I can use it the way I want. Well, the engineer might say, you might, you're free to do so, but you better use it the way I designed it to work. Well, I want to use sunflower oil instead of engine oil. Well, guess what? You're going to break it. It's not going to work right. And who are you to say that? Well, I'm the one who created it. I know how it's supposed to work. You can go wherever you want with it, but you need to use it according to the way it's designed. So in our human world, the one who created that human order of relationships, of love, of seeking truth, of respect, is God. And if we don't respect that order that is in a way embedded in our very nature, we begin to erode our being, to destroy ourselves. How do we know that this natural moral law exists? How do we know there's such a thing? There are what I would call witnesses of natural moral law. The first one is long-term consequences. When we recognize this moral order, we see also that societies and groups and individuals that follow it in the long run find human fulfillment. And when we don't, we find destruction, corruption. Many historians argue, for example, that the Roman Empire didn't wasn't really conquered from outside, but rather imploded because of moral decadence. The second one is great moral traditions. The great moral traditions of the world basically lead or coincide in the same key values: the dignity of human life or property, the seek for truth, respect, love. In the appendix of C.S. Lewis' Abolition of Man, you see this great compilation of all different moral traditions, from India to China to Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and you see all the amazing coincidences that there are. Sometimes we stress the differences, but it's amazing the great coincidence between these traditions. The third witness is language. Our language, our conversation. We know what we talk about when we discuss moral issues. When we say this is right and this is wrong, those are not, there's no equivocation about those terms. We do not mean to say, when I see this behavior, I feel some kind of feeling inside me of rejection of that behavior. We're not talking about feelings. When we talk about something that is morally right, I'm talking about something that is in accordance with an objective standard out there. It's not that we're saying, I like it and you dislike it, but rather, I think it's right, and the other person, I think it's not right. And finally, conscience as a universal phenomenon. All of us have a voice inside that says, this is right and this is wrong. And this is not simply an anticipation of consequences, because I may lie or cheat in an exam and get away with it. I hope that doesn't happen too often, but I may cheat and get away with it, but conscience tells me, you cheated, you were wrong. There is that voice that we have inside and tells us what is right, what is wrong. So that's my first point. The first, there's a natural order that is embedded in creation, but comes from a creator. The second point is revelation. There's an objective moral order, right and wrong, because we know it from the revealed Word of God. Now, why do we need revelation in a society? Why do we need revelation if we can know this naturally through human reason in many ways? Well, the main reason is what we Christians call the doctrine of original sin. We know that human beings, though we have a moral order, a moral law inside of us, we can turn away from it. We can freely depart from that moral order that is embedded in us. Animals cannot do it. The dog kills the cat. That has no moral, no moral judgment on that action. There's no crime. We don't use moral language on animals that have no freedom and no conscience. Mark Twain said once, human beings are the only animals that blush and the only